a seat. It is now 17:31, I believe, and I'd like to get started. This is the annual budget hearing, at which time the Board of Finance, along with members of the Board of Selectmen, are here to hear comments on the operating budget that's presented in front of the hall. As is customary, our first selectman, Beth Holler, would like to make some remarks, followed by Tony Genevieve. Beth?
Thank you, Matt. Good evening, and welcome to our town's preliminary budget hearing. Before I begin my remarks regarding our major projects and initiatives that we have accomplished together over the past fiscal year, I must take a moment to thank the town employees, including all the department heads who are in attendance tonight. I'd like to just ask all town employees to please raise your hand, and we could give you a big thank you. What we accomplished together on behalf of the public is enriched by your thoughtful engagement and service. I appreciate all the work it takes to keep the town running. Woodbridge continues to be a wonderful place to call home. This evening, we are here to take part in one of the traditions that remind us of our community's New England founding and our rich history. At this meeting tonight, we take the first of two steps in the process of approving our town budget for the new fiscal year beginning July 1st. Our annual budget reflects our shared values, our commitments to caring for the environment, providing excellent education for our children, and showing our respect to taxpayers by careful budgeting and responsible spending on essential town services. Tonight, I thought it would be appropriate to briefly review what we've accomplished as we head toward the close of fiscal year 2019 on June 30th. Over the past 10 months, we have made important progress on some major capital projects. These include an emergency radio system, which is set to begin final testing, an ADA bathroom, which has recently been completed, and a wheelchair ramp, which is now under construction at the Senior Center. Police carports have been installed using a grant. The animal shelter renovation is also nearing completion, also using a grant. These projects were on the drawing board for many years, and now they are expected to all be completed by the end of this fiscal year. We place a high value on public education of our town's children, both at Beecher Road School for grades pre-K through 6, and in the Amity Regional District Schools for grades 7 through 12. Our budget continues to fund the resources that are necessary to ensure the quality of our schools' programs and support all the efforts of the teachers and the staff members at Beecher. At the Amity Regional Middle School and the high school, the town works closely with the district to also ensure that all necessary resources are provided for the outstanding educational opportunities we want for our students there. In addition, the town and Beecher administration also continue to collaborate, consolidate services, and share costs with the Amity School District. We are looking carefully at additional ways to save taxpayer money while maintaining top quality, locally controlled educational services to all Woodbridge children. Another priority for Woodbridge is continued economic development initiatives. Through our membership in the Southern Connecticut Regional Council of Government, also known as SCROG, we are taking advantage of regional economic development services provided by RECs. This approach allows us to tap commercial development specialists to help guide our town efforts. Together with the professional services we have received from the Connecticut Economic Resource Center, also known as CERC, after the recent fiscal health analysis, we are moving economic developments forward. CERC recommendations have been reviewed and planning has begun by our Economic Development Commission. In the past year, realignment of my staff at Town Hall has made resources available to assist the EDC in this important work. Using a CERC design survey, our local businesses are being interviewed about their experiences in town. Data gathered so far is helping us focus on identifying issues that business owners face and potential improvements to make Woodbridge an even better place to do business. Realignment of staff resources is also helping us focus town boards and commissions on the goals of our 10-year plan of conservation and development. These efforts include bronze certification in the Sustainable CT program, which has meant statewide recognition of past and current sustainability achievements. Our Sustainability Committee, headed by John Gorham, is helping address the increasing cost of solid waste management, which our town budget is beginning to experience. By educating and involving the community in ways their households can reduce, reuse, and recycle, we will aim to decrease the weight of trash we pay to dispose of and increase composting, recycling, and other reused options to help protect our environment. The Revitalized Community Council is sponsoring new events, and resident involvement is increasing. As we spend time with our neighbors, we are making Woodbridge a more welcoming and friendly community. Finally, I want to express my gratitude to all the residents of Woodbridge who have taken the time to reach out to me either in person, by phone, text, or email. It is most important to hear from all of our residents. I have and will continue to listen to your opinions and suggestions and also help you get answers to any questions you may have. By working together, we can solve problems and enhance the quality of our life in our town. As your first selectman, it is my honor and privilege to serve this community and to represent our town at many award ceremonies, dedications, and life cycle events over the past year. Thank you for inviting me. We are indeed a wonderful and very busy town. With that, I will turn it over to Tony Genovese, our Town Administrative Officer and Director of Finance. I will proudly note that Tony has once again, and the Board of Finance's work on behalf of Woodbridge has once again resulted in accolades, both the Budget Award 12 years in a row and the Audit Award 23 years in a row from the Government Finance Officers Association. And most importantly, once again, Woodbridge has earned a AAA rating from Moody's. This is the best rating a town of our size can attain, and this keeps our borrowing costs down. Tony will now step us through the budget details. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. So as we go through the budget process, there are 4 overarching priorities that we keep in mind. Of course, controlling taxes, maximizing efficiency and effectiveness in our budget process, continue our fiscal stewardship of town funds, and of course provide excellent services as we do here in Woodbridge. The budget process starts in September, and from September through December, the departments put together their requests and submit them to the Finance Office. Those are reviewed by the Board of Selectmen and Finance in January and early February. And the Board of Selectmen makes its recommendation in February and to the Board of Finance, which then makes its recommendation in March to the town. Which results in this meeting. So that's sort of an outline of our process. And then the town meeting in May will vote on the budget. There are a number of issues and challenges that we face this year. I just want to bring a couple of them to your attention. The first is the state of Connecticut, with its budget constantly in flux. We have, at this point, an ECS reduction of $42,000. There is a looming teacher's retirement contribution, which may or may not happen, is not in this budget. And there is a state of Connecticut municipal employees retirement system, which is what the town belongs to for its retirement. Also a possible increase, which is not in this budget, but will be discussed after this meeting. So there are a number of items coming down from the state of Connecticut that could impact us in the years to come. As always, we keep an eye on those, and we'll let you know if they become an issue. Debt service has another issue that has a large increase this year, and that's the first principal and interest payment for the radio system. It's about $228,000. Listed there are some of the other projects in our debt service. The third issue is the grand list growth. The grand list growth this year was a 0.42%. On a budget basis. and it has been stagnant over the past several years. There's a chart in the budget on page 164. You can see the history of the grant list and its stagnant growth. And finally, a pay-as-you-go capital budget was decreased significantly this year, close to 25%, and funding of only critical infrastructure needs was done. So the revenues for this year total $50 million, a little over $50 million, $52,956,883. Majority of those revenues, or just under 94%, come from property taxes. So as you can see, Woodbridge is heavily reliant on property taxes to fund its operations. There's a few other minor items, including investment income and state revenue, but you can see those are somewhat minor. The majority is from property taxes. That sort of ties into the stagnant grand list growth that we discussed earlier. So we have 7 major revenue categories. The total revenue increased 1.62%, about $800,000, with property taxes up 1.41%. We did receive interest income is up $145,000, or a little under 100%. That was a significant growth item for us. State revenue is up a little, as we did have a unanticipated stabilization grant project grant that we had not really anticipated earlier in the budget. And finally, department charges, you can see, are down about a little over $30,000. There's a loss of the $120,000 from the closure of the outdoor pool at the country club, but there's an addition of $90,000 in there for funds for the transfer station, as the town is currently installing a scale to more accurately monitor and keep track of waste that goes through the system. So where does the $50 million go? Basically, the town is 40% of the operation, Woodbridge Board of Education is 30%, and Amity is 30%. The total increase of $800,000, if you use those same 3 categories, is broken down as follows. The $529,000, a little under $530,000 is for the Woodbridge Board of Education, $253,000 for Amity, and $17,000 for all the other departments. So you can see where the funds go in our expenditure categories. So as in revenues, our total expenditures are also up 1.62%, or $800,000. In addition to the $782,000 that was mentioned earlier about education, the remaining $17,000 is made up of a number of swings upward and downward. Debt service is up 10% due to the radio project, and Board of Finance is up $225,000, or due to increase in contingency, which is basically due to contract negotiations and other unforeseen expenses. Waste management is up close to $23,000 because of increased recycling costs. We hope to recoup some of those costs with the scale, but the expenditures are up this year. There is a reduction in the country club pool of $98,000 due to the closure of the pool, so that partially offsets the loss in receipts. The country club facility is a reduction of $65,000 from the previous year, as the elimination of all utilities for the building. This will increase slightly our insurance rates, which is in general admin. The capital budget, also as indicated earlier, is down just under $400,000 and includes funding for only essential investments in infrastructure, which we'll get into in a little bit. There were a few full-time positions that were eliminated in finance and in the library, as well as some part-time positions at recreation. If you look at the budget summary, there are 23 departments that are at or below zero. So that sort of gives you a flavor for where the increases and decreases are throughout the budget. The mill rate increases just under 1% for over FY19. So it's 40.23, which is an increase from 39.83. The budget also contains a capital budget, which is basically two parts. There's a pay-as-you-go portion, which is the items that we pay with current tax dollars. Those are the items that are down about a little under 25%. That includes vehicles, building improvements, our road paving program, and other infrastructure improvements. The other part of the capital budget is our bonding portion, and this is not funded in the budget, but rather serves as a guide or items for consideration that the town may or may not be considering in the future. It's a tool to help both residents and other outside agencies get an idea of what types of capital projects may or may not be in the future. So this is a chart of our debt service. You can see it contains three parts. There's the existing debt service, which is for the country club, public works facility, recent improvements at Beecher School, fire station, and open space. Those are some of the items. And then there's a debt directly under consideration. That's the possible future debt. We use an assumption there to just give an idea of what some possible future debt might look like. And finally, the Amity, our share of Amity's debt. So you can see that it's relatively stable through 2024 and then drops significantly. One fiscal indicator that we look at is the percentage of our budget, and 10% is sort of an area you really don't want to exceed unless you have some unusual circumstances. As you can see, we're somewhat below that number, but we look at a number of fiscal indicators to keep track of our debt. That's just one. Thank you.
Okay, for those of you who have not attended one of these meetings, there are no votes taken tonight. Discussion is, if you come to the microphone to ask a question about the budget, please identify yourself and name and address. I am going to be referring to, if you have the book, the operating budget, which appears on page 45. But I'd also like to point out that this is the expense side of the budget. On page 36, 38, 40, and 42, there are revenue items. Many of the departments produce revenue in their operations. I'll mention a couple: recreation, town clerk, etc. And it's just good to know that there are revenues to offset some of these expenses. So again, I will be presenting on page 45, the Board of Finance proposed budget, which is the third column in from the listing of the departments. If you have a question about the budget, again, please come up to the microphone. We have members of the Board of Finance. We have members of many of the departments here to hopefully answer your question. So with that, I will begin with the first department, which is the Board of Selectmen. And the Board of Finance proposed amount is $664,250. If we pass a budget that you eventually have a question about, we can always go back to that budget if you have a question. Okay, probate court, which is governed by statute. That's our share of the probate court. Is it in Derby, I believe? I think so. $12,500. Town clerk, $219,818. Registrar of voters, $45,981. Again, that budget is dictated by how many elections are planned for the next fiscal year. Government access television, $24,717. General administration, the biggest part of which is insurance, $2 $261,800. Information systems, pretty self-explanatory, $126,639. The finance department, which is the department that handles all the finances of the town, headed by Tony, $257,716. Tax collector, $151,955. Tax assessor, $170,081. Board of Assessment Appeals, $2,300. Board of Finance, $456,479. And as Tony explained, that number is up because there are several labor contracts under negotiation. And of course, there's no way of knowing what they will settle at. So we put our heads together and put together the best amount we can in there to cover those contracts once they're settled, without any possible knowledge of what they will be. And if by chance this is overstated, the money goes back to the town. So it's never something to worry that it's going to be spent. Town plan and zoning, $39,535. Zoning Board of Appeals, $5,000. The center, which is the operating expenses of this building that we're in right now, $79,000. The former fire station, $7,650, which is in the process. The decisions are being made as to how to utilize that building. The Country Club of Woodbridge, $5,000. And again, as Tony explained, that's down significantly because the Board of Finance voted to eliminate all utilities. We're heating and running electricity up there for no apparent reason, so we decided to eliminate that. The Police Department, $3,026,375. The Fire Commission, $819,148. Medical services, and again, that's contractual with AMR, $304,781. Animal control, $109,316. The building department, $161,558. Public Works, $1,390,221. Waste Management, $517,167. Building Maintenance, which pretty much covers all the buildings in town, $431,794. Human Services, $469,279. The Recreation Department, $577,653. Pool and gym expense, and again, that's the pool and gym at Beecher Road School, $86,250. The Parks Department, which is in charge of all the properties in town, the ball fields, the property around Town Hall, etc., $254,040. Country Club pool, of course, is $0. The Thomas Darling House, $7,616. library, $812,558. Conservation Commission, $400. Economic Development Commission, $2,350. Inland Wetlands Commission, $54,520. Employee fringe benefits, and again, this is not including Beecher Road School, that's carried in their budget. Employee fringe benefits, $4,536,439. Debt service, $2,819,203. Woodbridge Board of Education, $15,201,954.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight just for a few brief moments. My name is Bob Gilbert. I'm the superintendent of Woodbridge School District, Beecher Road School, and just a couple of quick comments to the Board of Selectmen and Finance. First, I want to thank you for the past and current ongoing support of Beecher Road School and the programs and what we do for children there. It means a lot, and the sense of working together over the years, including this year, is meant a lot as well. As superintendent, as well as I think I speak for our board members, we recognize clearly out of the gate that we're asking for a very high percentage this year, higher percentage than normal. That percentage we're asking for clearly reflected an enrollment growth that is not seen in most districts. It also reflects the increased percentage of students who require or are mandated to have special needs, both in the building and outside the building. We recognize that we brought that number to you, and it was high. It reflected what we believed we needed to advocate for. This budget process in Woodbridge is a very one with integrity, one with a lot of give and take. We understand clearly that we're not the only people in town and the only game in town, and there's a lot of resources, there's limited resources, I should say, shared amongst all departments. We respect the difficult challenges that you have as a board of finance and board of selectmen to make decisions and balance everything. I want to let you know that we really appreciate, even though the reduction was a reduction to our original request, we really appreciate being able to preserve the investment we have at 3.61%. We recognize the local fiscal challenges that are here. We recognize and appreciate that there is a limited tax base, and I think it was very well illustrated in the presentation at the beginning. So in the end, we appreciate the 3.61%. I think I speak for my fellow board members. I also want to let you know that we appreciate the ability to preserve the staffing and the programs that are important to the children. It's one of the reasons why we have so many kids moving to town. We have the second highest enrollment increase percentage over a 6-year rolling average in the state of any district. And again, as I mentioned, we have a very high percentage of special needs students moving in, and we need and owe them the right programs that are mandated. Again, I just want to say thank you for what you've been able to do to balance this budget. It was clearly a lot of work on your part, collectively, and appreciate the support of working together. Thank you.
Hamilton, 28 Park Lane. And I just wanted to say thank you as well to the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. The Woodbridge School District received a 3.61% increase in our budget. It allowed us to maintain the programming that makes our school this very special school it is. It's a wonderful, wonderful school, and we appreciate the support for that. And because of some things that happened after the budget was submitted, we were actually able to add some of the special education staff that goes back to what Bob was saying about the increasing number and the increasing needs of some of the students that come into the school. And again, these are our least able students, and we appreciate again what we need to do to support them and the entire school. So thank you.
My name is Jean Milano. and I am also a teacher at Beecher Road School. I moved to Woodbridge with my family in 2001. We chose Woodbridge over other New Haven County towns because of the reputation of the school district. There were other towns that offered more in the way of shopping, or that had lower prices for housing, or that actually provided garbage pickup. But for us, the quality of the education that our children would receive was of paramount importance. My daughter and son both attended Beecher Road School, including 4 magical years in the multi-age program. They were well prepared for middle school, and they thrived at Amity High School. The same year my son began kindergarten at Beecher, I was hired as the primary math coordinator. I have been teaching at Beecher for 14 years, so I think I have a somewhat unique perspective as both a parent and an employee of the district. Beecher students succeed because they receive high-quality instruction from dedicated, experienced teachers. The small class sizes at Beecher mean that classroom teachers are better able to meet the needs of all learners. Other teachers at Beecher provide outstanding art, music, foreign language, and physical education instruction. Students who need extra help in language arts or math get it. Students who need an academic challenge also get it. Students who need an individualized learning plan delivered by certified special education teachers get that too. And students who need emotional support get it. They get it because the town of Woodbridge has long understood that we owe it to our residents to continue to provide the quality education they expect. As a taxpayer, I am not thrilled when my taxes increase, but I am not surprised either. As we all know, goods and services typically cost more as time goes by. And as a citizen of Woodbridge who no longer has children attending school, I am more than willing to continue paying my share of taxes to ensure that the people who moved here for the same reasons I did, access to outstanding teaching and resources, get what they came here for. At the same time, I do understand the need to be financially responsible, and I'm deeply appreciative of other departments in town that presented trimmed down budgets. But a school district is not like other town departments. We at Beecher Road School serve hundreds of children. It is our honor and our privilege to teach them. It is also our legal obligation. Superintendent Gilbert's budget is the bare minimum we need to continue to provide the education that our students deserve, no more and no less. I ask that you support this budget. In doing so, you will be demonstrating your commitment to the students of Beecher Road School and to their families. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nicole Schick. I live at 38 Deerwood Road. I'm a Woodbridge resident for almost 10 years and a teacher at Beecher for longer. Currently, I have 7-year-old twins that attend Beecher Road School and are in year 2 of the MAG program. I believe this gives me a fair amount of insight in what happens in our school's amazing community, both on a professional and personal level. Over the 12 years I have been at Beecher Road School, student needs have increased dramatically. Beecher Road School professionals and staff are educating students with far more diverse and challenging educational needs than ever before. As these needs, as well as our population, has increased over the years, the number of support staff has not increased at the same rate. This year's budget is accounting for more special education teachers that will help continue to provide the level of education that Beecher Road School has been renowned for. During my time at Beecher Road School, I have noticed a trend in the frequency our administrators are being called to aid in a variety of situations because there is not enough support staff available. You're being called to help calm a distressed child and to step into substitute in classrooms as necessary. This was unheard of when I was hired just 12 years ago, and a strong indication that this budget increase is much needed. In previous budget meetings, it has been mentioned that Beecher does not live within their budget. The reality is we cannot project the cost of educating students whose special needs require additional support staff. Nor are we able to project the number of new families that move to our district for our incredible educational system in any given school year. This budget is helping support the tradition that Beecher has always had, providing a rigorous education that focuses on not just academics, but the social emotional needs of children as well. With your support of this budget, you're keeping these traditions intact. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kim Franklin, and I live at 155 Rimmon Road. I'm a 6th grade teacher at Beecher Road School, and I thank you very much for your time I love our school, and I am very grateful to have a position in that school, in our school here. I would like to provide some quantitative and qualitative data that's related to our school and our students and our community. And as I do, I would just ask you to imagine that your child is in our school, in my classroom, and in fact, the students of Beecher are in fact all of our students, because they are members of our community. So first, I would like to make you aware that in 2016, I had 19 students. In 2017, I had 20 students. In 2018, I had 21 students. In 2019, I have 23 students. For each student on average, I spend about an hour reviewing and grading homework, quizzes and tests, reading responses, essays, and other assignments. This translates to 19 students, 19 additional hours, 20 students, 20 additional hours. 21 students, 21 additional hours, 23 students, 23 additional hours. For each student, I spend time conferring with to discuss specific skills or feedback, but with each additional student added to my class, the more of my time is stretched. This will limit what I can accomplish as a teacher and what students will effectively learn. It will limit student potential. There seems to be a correlation between the number of students and the number of hours and the time spent with each individual student. The few minutes and hours I spend with students, the less feedback they receive and the less work output. It's significant. The more distracted, the less engaged, the lower the performance outcomes, the less that each student gets to reach their potential. If we don't invest our money in our students now, it will cost us later. If we are narrow in how we view the budget, yes, the school is impacted, but our students, our kids, are the ones who will endure the negative impact. I ask that you look at the way in which we are spending our money to ensure there is careful consideration when you cut our funding for our school. I used to be a real estate broker, and one thing I know is that when families are looking to purchase, they're investing in the school. If our schools are not properly reaching the learning targets, if we don't have the necessary teachers, if we are short on resources, if we are short-sighted with our budget, then our community as a whole will fail. I would also like to address the special education needs of our school. I recognize it is high, but our kids need more, and our teachers cannot reasonably and effectively teach to their potential if they do not have the necessary teaching staff. Students who receive special education are among us. They are kids who may learn differently and maybe need more one-on-one to reach their learning targets. But they become CEOs. They become doctors. They too become engineers and tradespeople. They become or own their own businesses. They count too. A recent graduate of Beecher who received special education came back to visit to report he is the president of his 9th grade class. So you see, we never know what a child's true potential is. And our job is to ensure that we do everything we can to make educational opportunities accessible. It is not only our moral obligation, it is our legal obligation, which makes it our financial obligation. Our job is not only to make education accessible to students receiving special education, it is to ensure that we access the potential of TAP students and the students in the middle, a significant loss in there. The only way we can do that is if teachers are provided the resources to do this. Resources are the TAs and the support staff that help to ensure that our time in the class is maximized. And if the teacher does the job of the secretary and the TA and has an increasing student body to attend to, then only the bare minimum is being provided. We are not reaching student potential because of a lack of effort, and eventually this will mean families will not remain or move into our community. And then our budget issue becomes even more problematic. So when you sit around the table to discuss the budget and the necessary change, I just ask you to just please bring us with you. The kids and their families, the members of our community, and imagine the potential of your child. Think about the larger impact, the the long-term effects, and the hopes and goals that you have for our community as a whole do not compare us to other schools, which I've heard in the past, or to other districts. As you look at the budget, consider the social and economic impact on not investing in the academic needs of our school, as it serves the foundation of the success of our community. Thank you.
Okay, the next department after Woodbridge Board of Ed is the Amity Regional School District, $14,965,743. Of course, Amity has their own district meeting. I don't quite know the date, but if you check on Amity's website, May 8th? Okay. And there's a district meeting at that time where you can speak to that budget. Okay, the district meeting is the 7th, and then the vote on the budget, which is a referendum again, is the 8th. Okay, that's Amity. All right, lastly, the capital and non-recurring budget, which is all the capital needs of the town, $1,216,897.
Tim Chickwittin at 4 Woodfield Road, and I'm just having a problem with page 70.
17?
7B.
Oh, 70.
The Board of Finance. The increase in percentage anyway seems to be all mostly located in contingency. What is contingency?
Well, I explained that earlier. Contingency, of course, normally speaking, is money that is set aside for unforeseen events. In this year, it's up significantly because we're negotiating how many labor contracts? 2 labor contracts, and we can't budget for how much that's going to cost us because we don't know the settlement, whatever it is. So, as I said earlier, we estimate as best we can how much they might cost and put it in there, and rarely are we correct. So if and when the contracts are settled, the money to fund those comes out of our contingency, and the rest, if there's any left over, goes right back to the town.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, my name is Anthony Volovo, 30 Dogwood Circle. Just a couple of comments and a couple of questions. I've been here several times in the past and talked about the line item of employee benefits. In this year, it's at $4.5 million roughly. And I believe that applies to, if I got the math right, there's a page in here that lists employees with 83 town employees. That obviously doesn't include Board of Education. That comes out to about $55,000 per employee per year for fringe benefits. That is, quite frankly, outrageous.
Excuse me, I believe though there are, excuse me? Yeah, Marty, but there's also retired benefits are in there. So in other words, people who've retired, and this is something that's been eliminated moving forward, but people who retire to get benefits for life, or whatever, that's in here also. That's an expensive item, and most of it's been eliminated moving forward.
That's fair. My point is that 3 or 4 years ago, I brought this up. I was told it was being contract negotiated.
Yep.
They were working towards reducing this cost. They were aware of it. They're cognizant of it. I just encourage you to keep working hard to get that number down, because again, that number, even if it's 40,000, is extremely high compared to any private industry. That would not be sustainable. So I really encourage you to do that. The other point I want to make is there was a lot of talk about the school budgets, and I agree. People who want to come to Woodbridge, one of the first things they're going to look at is the school system. But the other thing they're going to look at is the mill rate. And we are in the precipice. This budget actually puts us over 40 mills, which is, there's only a handful of towns in Connecticut that are 40 mills and above. And we would be one of those few. That is probably the next most important thing people look at when they're going to look to move to Woodbridge. You know, look at the mill rate, they're going to say too high. You can go to Shelton at 22%, you can go to Milford at 25%, whatever. So I have a challenge for you. My calculations say that if you reduce your total budget by $461,000, you will have a 0 mil increase. I think that challenge should be taken on seriously. You should keep us below 40 mils. You should find, matter of fact, the contingency is about that amount. So if you could just find a way to deal with that and get that reduced, I think it would be a major statement and a move in the right direction. You know, there's other things in here that concern me about some of the expenditures, but I don't want to get into too controversial. But for instance, the library. I don't know what the utilization of the library is, but it's $871,000. It's mostly all payroll. It's open until 8 o'clock every night, except Saturday's open until 5. I mean, do we really, in today's world with internet and everything else, do we really need to be those kinds of hours, those kinds of dollars? It ought to be converted to a voluntary funding system. It ought to be taken out of the town budget. It's probably a great place, and you know. But the schools have their own libraries, so you know, why are we spending that kind of money? I'm just saying we need to start looking at those kinds of things because we're at the point now where we're going to drive ourselves to be in the lower echelon of attractive places to live and work in today. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
Hi, I'm Ed Weinberg. I live at 24 Ranch Road. And first, I'd like to thank the Board of Selectmen because I see that just about every line item they gave less than the department has asked for. And that and the Board of Finance because you guys shaved a little bit more off of each one in here, just about. But I've got a few comments and suggestions that maybe would make people happier here about the proposed budget. So I'm very concerned about the combination of our property values declining and our taxes to continue to rise. With the reevaluation coming next year, I see a very rare and painful possibility that our assessed home values will decline further, which, unless we cut spending, means our mill rate will go up even higher, as the last gentleman pointed out. 40, if you go over 40, you are in a new class. One of the things that I looked at, as he did, was the fund balance, the unassigned fund balance. For example, we put money over there at the end of each year into the fund, and it grows every year. So, looking at the preliminary budget from last year, the fund balance was over 11% of the town budget. Our own finance directors offered guidance that the fund balance should be in excess of 7% for a variety of sound fiscal reasons. I suggest that growing it to over 1.5 times the finance director's guidance is excessive. Meaning, we've been overcharging our taxpayers. So we don't need such a high fund balance. After looking at the mailer and the booklet tonight and seeing the high fund balance, I suggest you go back to the drawing board and use the 2017-2018 actual bottom line numbers for our upcoming budgets. Maintain the proposed amounts for the Woodbridge and Amity Boards of Education because we don't want to mess with the crown jewel of Woodbridge, our schools. And apply some of the excessive fund balance to the new budget and find the savings elsewhere, but it looks like you probably don't even have to because there's plenty of money in the budget to bring the budget numbers down to the 2017 to 2018 level while still having enough in this rainy day fund. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Michael Broderick. I've been a long-time Woodbridge resident. I've lived here for 43 years. I grew up here. I decided to make my home here and make my business here. I own 2 homes in Woodbridge, and I also own an office building where my veterinary practice is. I've been really disturbed by a couple things, and I watched the budget discussion on our Woodbridge station about the police station. And I was dismayed at what I heard, because what I heard was the police have had to wait for so long for $2 million, where all the other buildings have been upgraded, our fire department. But Woodbridge is really starting to suffer in my tenure living here. We have, every year in the past, Woodbridge had increases in home prices. Today, I pointed this out at the selectmen meeting, we have almost no houses on the market for more than $1 million. We certainly have $1 million homes, but they're not selling for what they should. And it's based on our mill rate, and it's based on our increasing taxes. And I think it's very, very short-sighted of the Board of Finance to spend $2 million on a police station that we don't need. That is a way that you could save a massive amount of money. Our police are in their cars mostly. We don't need a glorified building to honor our police. They're paid, well-paid town employees. Now, I'm not against the police. I like Woodbridge police. But that's the kind of thing. If we want to live in a Woodbridge where taxes are controlled and where we actually have increasing home values again, you have to change the way you're doing things. We are not living in an austere way like we used to with the town government. And I really think the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen need to change the priorities. You know, I'm really worried. I have a house I'm flipping. Am I going to lose money on it because the town is, and this house should easily sell. It's a lovely home in a beautiful neighborhood of Woodbridge. Is the town going to cause that town-wide because you guys are being very, very short-sighted? Our police absolutely don't need improvements to the building. And I'm all for good communication systems, but the building we have, we're a low-crime town. Why do we need to do something like that? And it's a very different situation than the firemen. The firemen are volunteers. We have to keep our volunteer firemen happy, unless we want a paid fire department, but our police are a totally different situation. And that is very short-sighted, and I want to know from the Board of Finance how you can justify that in this time when the town is really now suffering from some of their judgments. And we really have to get on a different footing if we want to keep Woodbridge the town that it's always been. And make it a place where people still, you know, of course they come here for our wonderful schools. I have no children. I support the school system entirely. But a police station, crazy, and absolutely unneeded, and short-sighted. So, you know, you guys have to do your job and really say enough is enough and not spend money like that. Thanks a lot.
Those of your comments. I do not agree with those remarks. If you've ever taken a tour of the police department, it is substandard. It's in need of, there are certain things they have to have by statute. There are areas where they have the jail, for example, the place where the dispatch is located. They have no space for storage. They have boxes piled everywhere. I would suggest if you really think that police department is adequate, you should maybe take a little tour of it, because believe me, it's not adequate at all.
I have taken a tour, and also we have lots of buildings. You know, it's all about priorities. You know, you're also letting the town asset deteriorate. The country club spending no money to maintain a very, very valuable asset of all the town. That's also very short-sighted, because that building could be a very, very valuable building for all kinds of activities and all kinds of uses for our town. So, you know, it's priorities. I think your priorities are wrong. We can update our station for just to meet state statute, and that's it. We don't need a glorified building.
My name is Susan Davidson. I have addressed you all in the past. I could say how much I think the seniors and the senior center needs to be upgraded. I disagree. I don't think you guys are doing a bad job at all. We love Woodbridge, my husband and I, and we love every penny you spend on Woodbridge and keeping it as beautiful as it is. I'm here now because I can't listen to negative thoughts about the library. I would submit to you that our library is a treasure and that it is an extension of our educational system. Just as people moved to Woodbridge for our schools, and my husband and I did many years ago, people move here for our library. A library is a mark of an educated community. People do job searches, read books. I would not have moved here if there was not a nice library. And when we needed to expand it, Beth and I were on the library commission at that time, and we have an extension on our library, a renovation that was sorely needed. So I cannot sit in this room and hear people say that we don't need a library. We do. We needed every square inch we got. We could have actually used a larger room for programming. There are no kitchen facilities there. Many libraries in the state of Connecticut have far larger and more beautiful library renovations. So, Woodbridge does not always vote for Taj Mahal. I don't think we spend too much. I think we need to continue supporting things that are part of our educational system. Thank you. And let's not forget the seniors in the future.
Hi, Jeanette Glicksman, 1097 Johnson Road. I'm also the Senior Center Director. I'd just like to say, I share this building as an employee of the town with the police department, and it is really time for this building. And I think you all know that, whether it's part of this building or all of this building, but I think it's incredibly hypocritical for someone to point out that we're letting the Country Club of Woodbridge fall apart on our watch, but not point out that this building also needs our attention, because we really do need to pay attention to our buildings. It's the cost of doing business. We need to keep putting investment into the parts of this town where we provide services, such as the schools, such as this building. And so, yes, the Country Club of Woodbridge is there, but this building is also here, and this building is used every day, all day, by so many cohorts of this town. I just want to point that out. Thank you.
Two questions first. Cheryl Lipson, Brookwood Drive. Matt, or somebody, can you tell me why personal property in town is going down? Oh, maybe it's Tom.
Sure. Betsy can probably answer that a lot better than I can.
I believe that has to do with depreciation, correct, Betsy? Depreciation?
I don't know where to...
Why is personal property declining?
Well, because every year you have to understand that it depreciates through a schedule, and we don't have a lot of growth. So if we're not bringing new business into the town, all the business that's existing every year is depreciating by 10%.
So I guess the follow-up question on that is, we're not bringing business into town, but wasn't that one of the goals in the business district to, I believe it even started in the previous administration, to try and encourage and enhance things so that businesses would want to come and do business here?
Yes, but we have a very limited area where business can create, so it's probably a very unique situation in the town of Woodbridge. How are you going to create growth when you only have a certain amount of parcels that are commercially, zoned?
So would one of those zones be, I don't know what it's called, what euphemism now? I'm talking about the flats down there, we were talking about mixed use at one point.
Right.
Is that something that they are still looking to develop more of, to have the personal property going up? Or is this a trend that will continue because nothing is happening?
That will be zoning issues and economic development issues.
Is there an economic development committee talking about? I'm sorry. It's okay.
Are you talking about the area on Bradley Road?
Bradley Road, Litchfield,
Yeah.
and any of the
We don't own any of that land.
No, I understand.
So we do not control the zoning or what's put there. It's up to the commissions, I guess. There's a pre-approved project on Bradley Road, as I understand, that's been pending since 2008.
Yeah, but
I'm not sure, right?
It's been stopped.
What is it?
It was over 55 with retail, and
Right.
they basically have abandoned it because they felt it wasn't profitable to pursue it.
At this point, it's stagnant,
So is there anything that the town can do to entice and/or encourage builders, developers, private entities? I thought there was a search going on again before to get business interested in
Well,
coming
first,
into.
sure, Cheryl. First of all, I think it's important that we begin to protect businesses that are here now. We've been reaching out to them in the last year and a half since I've been here to make sure that the businesses we have stay. We've reinvented or reworked the Economic Development Commission, as I mentioned in my comments. I can go over it again. And actually, Betsy has a whole plan going forward so we can have, bring in. First, we've got to make sure the businesses that are here stay. We have to talk to them, listen to what their needs are, and then from there, figure out how we can expand. We've been working with CERC, as I said in my opening statement, and Rex, through SCROG, and we've reassigned staff, not reassigned the right word, but we have more staff, same staff, taking that on along with me. It's a tough process because, as Betsy said, it's a small area, and,
Privately owned, so they have to decide how they're going to.
we've got to keep the businesses that are here, too.
Zoning as well to develop.
Right.
My other, what is motor vehicle supplement?
That's any vehicle that's registered after October 1st of each year. So if you register your car in November, you would not get a tax bill in July of the following year. You would get a tax bill in the following January.
Is it just cars, Betsy?
Just cars.
Just cars?
Yes.
Okay. Going back to, without getting, no aggression this evening, the idea of, somebody said, or several people have been speaking about the needs of the police department. I play bridge at the senior center, and boy, could that use a couple of, it could use more than a facelift. People come here and play pickleball. Which brings us back to, you turned off everything now at the country club and reducing, I was in a meeting where we were asking, could something be done in terms of the people that were walking or wanted to walk? And I think it was Brad Parsons, who I think was the course out now. Okay. He said it wasn't safe to go out. They were going to go out there and take a look, but you wanted to make sure that people that did go out there, and there are more going out now that the weather is good, you wanted to make sure that there was no possibility of injuries or minimizing that. So if you're reducing the budget even further, $5,000, that wouldn't even take care of mowing. So one of the things that had been suggested in the past was putting an RFP out, maybe contacting Yale School of Architecture to do something with that building. And my thought was, sitting and listening to people here this evening, would that not be a great place? You have parking, great view, you could have, I don't know, maybe the police would move over there. I don't know. I've been to the police station on few occasions. I know they have certain needs. But what about the seniors there? What about office space there? What about a gym there? I don't know what is possible, but to let something fall totally by the wayside, and now to turn off any power, we're out of the winter, but you're still going to have more deterioration. Is the town viewing that as that elephant that has to be sent someplace else now, and you're just looking to destroy it completely? Or is there still hope that something could that be done if there was, I'll use RFP, something out there that could in fact come in and then be beneficial to the whole town? Thank you.
Shane Franklin, 155 Redmond Road. Question, maybe for you. I noticed that in the initial slide deck, Beth, you mentioned that the radio system was part of... Speak close to me. I'll start again. So Beth, you mentioned that in the initial slide deck, the radio system power was part of grants. But then Tony had mentioned that there was an increase in debt services of $200,000 a year for that starting this year. So I was just wondering more of, was it part of the grant? One, and is there somewhere in here that describes what the offset of grants, the acceptance of projects are, and then the debt service that our town is responsible for once the grant money is?
So the radio system did not have grant money towards it. It was a police carport that had grant money. That was, and also the radio tower that's out by the police department.
So that was
those two were combined for a grant of $500,000.
The tower is not in here.
No, no, that was a few years ago. But the radio system itself is all bonded dollars, which was the 2.1 million. Okay.
This may not be the place for it, but one way of getting more revenue for this town and to fix up the golf course is to develop it and bring some condominiums for senior citizens to live there. Doesn't take away from the school system, brings more revenue, and I think that would help the budget.
Hi, Chuck Fine, 162 Center Road. Two questions, one's kind of quick. If you could turn to page 55 of your hymnal, I think it is. Oh, I'm sorry, that's wrong. Page 76. Sorry. What is electric buildings for $55,000?
That's the electricity.
Electricity, oh, okay, all right, that's a mistake. That would be impressive. I was going to say, I'm signing up for that. I just want to go back to one of the slides that Tony showed. There was a graph where there was some serious sloping down of expected revenue. That had to do with school populations, I think.
There was a graph that's
Okay, well, because here's my concern. In the 20 plus years I've lived here, I've never seen an accurate prediction of how many kids are going to be in the Beeching school system. And it's off by, I mean, my really weather man, it's so bad. So my question is, as we're projecting some of these exposures years and years out, is that tying into the 105 kids you're expecting to see grow Beecher by in the next 10 years? Because my guess, I mean, when my kids were going through, I have one kid who was in the 1994 bumper crop of children, and there were over 1,000 kids at Beecher at that point. That bolus went through the school system. It was painful, right? Are we budgeting for that kind of explosion again, or are we sticking with these numbers? Because I'm not sure I trust these numbers again, just from experience.
I could tell you from the debt service perspective, we did not include any expansions or improvements or upgrades to the Beecher School analysis. That's your question, right?
Oh, yeah, that's, ouch, okay.
So,
All right.
that's, next 10 years.
All right, well, I know from a security perspective, you would never consider mobile units or anything like that anymore. It would have to be part of a bigger building. Okay, all right, just brace yourselves. It's a good school system, bring a lot of kids in. So, sorry. To borrow money to build more buildings if we have to.
Just not projected that way. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can't do it at some point in time, but some other point in time.
Okay, thanks.
Can I ask one more? Sure. That's correct.
Tom Buffa, 40 Waywood Drive. On page 164, there's a very nice graph here that shows the value of all taxable properties in your district. Can someone just tell me quickly what causes the big drops? I see like $50 million drop here in maybe 1 year from 2010 to 11, and I see it again from 2015 to 16.
Those are the last two times we did revaluation. So the last two times we revalued all properties, there was a decline in the total value. So you can see.
Somebody said we're going to do that again in a couple of years?
Yeah, next year.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Steve Dossick, 26 Dillon Road. Certainly appreciate everybody's time. I'm on a commission myself, and I know how much time it takes, so I appreciate your what you do. My fear, and I use that word appropriately, is that this budget is money not well spent. And the reason I say that is, and you can Google it, you can go to the Hartford Current and read some of the property values throughout the state. If anyone bought a house, and I'm sure many of the people in this room have bought a house somewhere between 2002 and 2006, as of 2007, after the Great Recession, our property values are 35% less than the value of 2007. Our budget certainly isn't 35% less than 2007. You can't blame the assessor for reduced property values. That's what she just does the numbers. She doesn't make them up. So what I'm saying to people is, if you were a person that bought a home 2005, 2006 at the peak of the market, as of 2007, you're 35% behind. So if you're a good tax-paying citizen and you go to sell your house today, you get rewarded with a 35% haircut on the value of your home. So the only way you can save that and change the direction is by being fiscally responsible, or more fiscally responsible. What I fear is that we have a beautiful senior center downstairs, and I'm all for the seniors, and I think it needs to be updated, and I'm all for it. You're not going to have a lot of seniors coming here if the taxes continue to go the way they are. You're going to be chasing people out of Woodbridge, and that's what's happening now. All right? You might as well send them a ticket to Florida, because that's what's going to happen. So I think you have to go back to the drawing board. I know you have to spend money in Beecher Road School. I know you have certain obligations because there's contractual obligations, but I think you have to start looking very, very seriously at what this budget is and what it's doing globally to the people of Woodbridge. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else? Okay, the next meeting is May the 20th, which is a town meeting where we will vote, and we will hopefully have a quorum, so hopefully we'll see you there. Thank you.